these things are really shocking to our very core, and they can kind of spread out into the outside world. It actually has an ever-increasing sense of insecurity. We become less able to rely on ourselves. It not only takes over nearly every thought in our head, but it takes over huge amounts of time in our life. But it's all fear-driven. It's all from a place of, if I don't, something terrible will happen. Hello everybody, I'm Catriona Morten. I'm a sensory-motor psychotherapist. And today I'd like to talk to you about the impact that OCD can have on our lives. But before I jump into that, if you're enjoying these videos, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, because it really helps us get our message out there to loads more of you. I know I've mentioned OCD in other videos, but I just wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive into it. One, about its origins, and secondly, how debilitating it can be, because it really is something that has an onset and it kind of builds and it gets more and more and more of a grip on us. And it can overtake so much of people's lives, because this is one condition that we really notice how much it overtakes our mind and our thoughts. And it can be this ever-present thing that's constantly nagging away at us, sending fear through our body and affecting the things that we do and our behaviours to a huge extent. For a lot of people that I've worked with over the years with OCD, there tends to be two main origins of how OCD starts to form. And I'm sure there's lots of others, but these are the two common ones that I've come into contact with. One is when people grow up in a very, very inconsistent, volatile, ever-changing environment, then that is very destabilizing for us. And if we have no control, if we don't know what's coming next, if things are so unpredictable that we're always caught off guard, then we need to have coping mechanisms to deal with that. We humans need consistency, safety, predictability in our lives. Whether or not we think we do or not, we do. That sense of control, of knowing what's coming next, is really important. And if you think, when we have a baby, the first thing that we're told is get the baby into a routine. So there's consistency, there's a routine, there's a kind of flowing of things that happen, the bed-night routine, the feeding routine. It's really important, and it helps us feel secure and stable, and to have a sense of kind of being at ease with our environment. When we don't have that, we have to create it in some other way. So we will literally make some order out of chaos. And we do that by a number of ways, trying to get some order into here. Some people like to count things, and it's just that level of consistency. Okay, I'm going to count certain things, and it makes me feel a little bit settled. Or we have to have things arranged in a certain way. Or we have these rituals that we have to perform in order to give us that sense of order. Now, while that initially will give a sense of, okay, I know, it's the same number every time, or I have to check that, no, it feels safe. It can very quickly overtake, because we haven't got that internal sense of safety and that consistency. And so we have to create more and more of it in our environment. And so the way it can look is, instead of just checking the door once, checking it twice, yeah, that's okay, it can be a constant. And it's often the thoughts, the voices in our head that go, maybe you didn't, maybe you didn't. And it actually has an ever-increasing sense of insecurity. We become less able to rely on ourselves. We feel less able to get this sense of safety and security in our world. And this thing, it's like a motor that's running, and it can just be all-consuming. If we are afraid of bugs and cleanliness, then the need to keep doing it and the thought of, what bugs, what germs could be around on things, it can just overtake everything, and people can be terrified to touch surfaces, or if they've touched the surface, it's like I have to clean it 5 times. And it not only takes over nearly every thought in our head, but it takes over huge amounts of time in our life. And it can be the most important thing. And when it really gets a grip, there's not much room for anything else. People find it very difficult to go out. They find it really difficult to get any other tasks completed apart from these rituals. The other source of origin, and I've come across this a lot, if there's been something very unexpected, especially health-wise, with a family member when we're younger, it can give us that sense of something awful can happen, that the people that we've got around us, there's not that sense of we're all safe, we're all well. It's this, oh my God, terrible things can happen. These things are really shocking to our very core, and they can kind of spread out into the outside world. And what a lot of people describe with their rituals is they'll have certain ones, just say maybe checking the doors, checking lights, checking the cooker, checking the kettle. Those will be for our sense of safety. They'll often have a different set of rituals that mean that other people are going to feel safe. Now, the problem with trying to just not do these things is it feels too risky, because we've embedded the sense of those people will be okay if I just do these things, and I'll be okay if I just do these things. And it can feel like, but what if I don't? And something happens, it's on me. And that awful sense of one responsibility, but it's all fear-driven. It's all from a place of, if I don't, something terrible will happen. And it's really easy to just say, okay, I need to sort my thoughts out. And while that can actually, for a condition like OCD, CBT can be very effective. But if the thing that has caused it has either left us with developmental trauma or PTSD trauma, then that isn't really going to help, because you've got the internal driver and the triggers in here that are actually setting the nervous system off, that's giving that sense of overwhelming fear. And if that lies at the bottom of it, then we've got to be able to deal with that trauma and the fear. Understanding how the origins of it are, that can be really helpful as well, because for a lot of people it just feels like they're going mad, and they'll keep it a secret and not tell people around them what it is they're doing. They'll try and just do them and not draw attention to themselves, but the risk of not doing them is huge. And so it feels like a really precarious thing. This thing that started to give security now just makes everything feel even more on the edge and even more risky. If just sorting our thoughts out, reframing things, challenging those thoughts, are those thoughts really true? How much do I really believe them? How old does that voice sound that's in there? Because if it's been an early trauma, then that voice that's telling you to do these things it's young. It's not our adult self. It's a much younger, fear-based part that wants safety and security, and we've got to keep doing these things. When we can challenge the thoughts and really question, is that true? Do I really have this power over things? Do I have to invest all my time doing these things? Reframing the thoughts and, being able to put either something else before them or something else after them. That can be quite effective, but if we have an internal system that's going off, our nervous system is firing off, then we've got to be able to deal with the body as well. So when you're having those thoughts, what's going on in here? Where do you feel that sense of fear? and lack of control. How is it actually showing up in the body? And therapist that's watching somebody talk about this will be able to see the impact that it's having, the kind of way that the body is, and the direction that somebody's looking or pulling away from, or, you know, arms clasping into the side. We can really work with the body, because there's another benefit of that our head can't keep overthinking and going in these cycles when we've got our attention in our body. And it can be a really good circuit breaker. Having a little routine that we do. Okay, so when those thoughts come up, is there something we could do with the body? Can you tense some muscles in your legs? Can you squeeze some muscles and really slowly let them go? Can you count out with your out breath instead of going to count things? How many counts can you get on your out breath? Can you make that longer? If it's a 6 or an 8, can you get it up to a 10 or a 12? And it's really difficult. It's almost impossible if we're completely focusing on doing something physical with the body to keep overthinking. It can be a good circuit breaker, but it can also be a good way of regulating the nervous system to help that fear settle. Because if this is out of control and fearful, if we can get that sense of control within our body, then we can do that in a safe way without having to put all our investment in out here, which, you know, it is really precarious, because sometimes there'll be things that interrupt the rituals, that get in the way. Or, you know, if we have to go away somewhere, it's like, well, you know, how do we manage those rituals? It can just feel like a never-ending whack-a-mole kind of existence. When we know what it is we're looking for, what are the missing pieces, and we can find a way of getting that within ourselves, of regulating our breath, or unclenching some muscles that are really, really tight, or a way of being able to engage with the external world that's not just constantly scanning for fear. Then we develop our curiosity and use some of our senses to get that sense of what's actually happening in the here and now, rather than the overthinking and the second guessing what I need to do next. Because, like I say, that will just it will just grow and grow and grow, because the missing pieces are in here. They're not out there. And while we get that initial sense of, oh yeah, that makes me feel better, it's only that it settles this for a moment. We can make this body, nervous system, the focus. And there's lots of different things, you know, we can do to deactivate our vagus nerve. You know, there's lots of things we can do with our breath. We can do some tapping on all the meridian points and the energy points in our body. We can do some vagus nerve stretches. There's a lot of things that we can do in the moment, and just notice, does it help things settle? And if things in here settle, does the overthinking stop? Does it slow down a little bit? Does it ease a little bit in its kind of urgency? And if yes, then this needs to be the focus of where we're putting our work, away from here and into here. And only then are we going to get those missing pieces that we're actually looking for. So I hope that's helpful, useful, both for you and maybe for other people that you know. And again, if you're enjoying these videos, then please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.